Okay, I believe we should be live now. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to my live stream. Today we're going to be talking about Pokemon Horizons episode 110. Sorry for a little bit of the delay, but I ended up not being available yesterday, so this and the final episode for this arc are going to be streamed on Sunday. Next week it'll be at around 8 o'clock Eastern time zone, so just FYI. But yep. Anyways, as we wait for some people to join here, so a few things for people that are brand new to the channel. You're coming across the stream for the first time. Usually what we do here is I usually give it about 5 to 10 minutes for people to start showing up, at which I'll give a brief summary of the episode, give my thoughts on it, assign a rating to the episode, and then I hand it over to the chat. And usually we go on for about an hour, hour and a half. Typical length for these streams. So yeah, also the music you hear in the background comes from Video Game Study Lounge from Game Shops. Link in the description for that. Lo-fi remixes of video game music. Some originals thrown in there. You hear stuff from like Zelda, Pokemon, Mario, Final Fantasy. Like, you know, the biggest, some of the biggest video game franchises out there. You'll probably hear something in there. It's pretty cool. Check it out sometime. Also, if you can do me a favor, if you're coming into this stream, you know, and you like this content, it'd be pretty cool if, you know, you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. And then also vote in the poll. I put a poll up every time we do these streams where I want to know what you guys would rate the episode. Obviously, since the polls are limited to just 4 choices, I kind of have to just limit it. So 10, 9, 8, 7... 6, 5, and then lower than 5 are your options, so go ahead and vote in the poll and let me know what you thought in the chat. Don't be shy. Anyways, it looks like Sharon's here. Hello. Things to say for the... be here for the next live discussion, yep. I'm seeing the backlash with this episode. I haven't really paid attention, but I have some things to say. I have good and bad things to say about this episode. So I'm going to give it a few minutes and then I'll give my thoughts. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you had a good weekend. I'm going to be seeing Demon Slayer later, so that's cool. 7 out of 10. I see. I thought it had a lot of cheesy plot armor. Yeah, I'll get to it. I'll get to my thoughts in a moment. Especially with Liko becoming useless lately in these battles, really nerfing her strength. I mean, like, alright, I'll save my thoughts for a second. But just please keep in mind, they're going up against a 6-hero Pokemon. Is she really that useless, Sharon? Everybody is struggling in this battle, but yeah. Everybody. Amazing battle. Roy's second Pokemon did amazing, giving the wind to the wind and used the Electro Ball. Amazing. Hope we see Roy's second Pokemon training in the 3-episode arc in October. Also, hi, Kid Angie. It did something in this episode, which was great. Better than nothing, I suppose. Am I right? Okay, how about I go ahead and start summarizing this episode? So, we'll stop there in the chat. I'll resume once I'm done with my summary. Go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't already, and also vote in the poll. But for now, I'm going to give my summary of this episode. So, we have two different things going on in the episode. So we have Liko, Roy, and Alt, confronting the 5 of the 6 hero Pokemon. And then we have Dot running into Hamber, and then eventually running into Agate. So then we have Dot versus Agate. So, the explorers are testing out their super strong spheres, which is basically bringing out, it's using Recurium to the maximum to bring out basically the peak power of these Pokemon. Or at least exert it even further than their peak, whatever you want to say. But anyways, yeah, we're going up against the 6 hero Pokemon, and yeah, the odds are not looking too good for Liko, Roy, and Alt. As, yeah, they are struggling immensely. If you thought going up against the hero Pokemon individually was already tough, imagine fighting 5 out of 6 of them at once. So, needless to say, it's an extreme uphill battle for these characters. Sableye takes a beating, Liko's Pokemon take a beating as well. At first, Roy doesn't have Lucario already, he has just Crocodile and Kilowattrel. But, they're all struggling immensely going up against the 5 of the 6 hero Pokemon. Sableye almost gets taken out, and Captain Pikachu actually has to jump in and save it. Meanwhile, we have Dot, who he wants to try and catch up with Liko and the others because she realizes that they're falling into a trap, and then she ends up running into Hamber, and actually Hamber needs Dot's assistance because Crave has actually been locked up, and they don't want to brute force it because it's gonna look very suspicious. So if they brute force their way into where Crave is being held at. So he basically brings her on to basically hack in and, break the code and release Crave. But they're confronted by Agate, and Hamber can't do anything otherwise, he'd be fired. So he can no longer work from the inside, which at this point I don't think he's going to be able to do anything because, well, they know they know what he's up to, so nothing he's gonna do any further. But anyways, Dot decides to battle her, so we have Tinkaton. We have Dot versus Agate. So I'll get this part out of the way. Yeah, very choppy animation for this battle. Not really very impressive, but eventually Dot manages to win this one. I think legitimately beating Agate on her own for the first time without any assistance from anybody else, so that was interesting. Tinkaton learns Gigaton Hammer, which is cool, but yeah. So she's able to help out. She beats Agate. Agate teleports away. So she saves Crave. Crave's the one that actually disagreed with the super strong sphere, so they locked him up. But meanwhile, we have Liko, Roy, and Alt still struggling against the hero Pokemon. They realize that, hey, in order to actually win, we can't brute force our way through this. There's no way. We're just going to lose. And that's going to be the end of us. So, Terapagos is the one thing that can actually, help the hero Pokemon by absorbing the Recurium. So they basically essentially buy it time. Lucario jumps out to help out. Charcadet helps out as well. Mega Dragonite, Meowscarada and Crocodile are terrestrialized. Kilowattrel actually hits Galarian Moltres with Electro Bottle, which was kind of neat. All hail Kilowattrel. But anyways, they managed to keep the 5 heroes at bay while Terapagos essentially cleanses them of the Recurium. So it seems like all's well that ends well. Well, nope, they got some more Recurium, so pretty much what they just did gets erased. Their progress that they just made gets completely erased. And then Terrapagos and Heterum get taken down. So now what? Now what are they supposed to do? So they're completely driven into a corner. And yeah, things ain't looking so hot at the moment. But anyways, that's where the episode comes to an end. So, okay. Let me get the good out of the way. So when it comes to the good, I do like that Dot was able to defeat Agate for the first time. Shows her progress. Also shows that Tinkaton is a very powerful Pokemon. And someone that is definitely a very powerful ally for the Rise and Volt Tacklers. That's kind of neat. You know, and then, you know, Kilowattrel, you know, actually landing an attack I think was pretty neat. At least it's better than nothing. I mean, it managed to bring down Galar and Moltres even for just a little bit. So that's kind of cool. I do like that it is very there's a lot of tension, and even though they seemingly they tried to resolve things, their hopes quickly got dashed. So it shows that they didn't just easily get out of that situation, so they're still stuck there. So another thing to note is that Spinel actually recognizes that Terrapagos is actually the main problem that the Rise and Volt Tacklers have against them. So it makes me wonder if maybe Terrapagos is going to be targeted in the next episode. Possibly they use this opportunity while they're all struggling to kidnap it or something like that. So that basically their ace in the hole is now gone. So maybe the next arc is going to be the rescuing of Terrapagos. But that's just speculation for now. So we'll see what happens in the next episode. However, I have to say for the second to last episode, compared to the last few arcs that we've had in the series, the last two especially, and even Arc 2, which is, I still think Arc 2 is the weakest arc in Pokemon Horizons. I think this might actually be my least favorite, second to last episode for an arc, if that makes sense. And I have to say the reason why this episode is, not as great as it could be is literally because of the animation. The animation in this episode was not good. It was very choppy. It was very clunky and slow. And I don't know if maybe they're saving the budget for the next episode, and next episode being the last one is going to be amazing. I don't know. It's just that the battle between Dot and Agate, it was very choppy. It was very slow and sluggish, and some of the stuff with the hero Pokemon as well, and it was very unengaging, and I'm not trying to slam the episode completely, because this is not the worst I've seen in the series, but for coming up on what is the climax for an arc, very underwhelming in my opinion. I'm glad the series has taken another break, but I'm starting to wonder if maybe Anipoke needs a much longer break than 2 weeks. Because, man, the animation in this series, I like Horizons, but this is such a step down compared to the last 3 Anipoke series. And that's saying a lot, because the last one, it was starting to show that its cracks were definitely showing in the series that shall not be named. So, I don't know, man. Definitely, it seems like the pandemic, all that stuff has really kind of just caught up to them. So I'm wondering if maybe this series just needs to take a hiatus for a little while to kind of, brush things back up and get things kind of back in working order. I don't know. I ain't an expert in this stuff. I'm not trying to pretend like I am, but when I see another series like One Piece also having to take a 6-month break, Yeah, and given how big that series is, I wouldn't rule it out for Pokemon. I mean, gonna just put it out there that One Piece ratings are higher than Pokemon's ratings in Japan, so I wouldn't mind if there was a little break in between the end of Horizons and then the next series, because it's clear as day that it's caught up to them, and I don't want the series to be affected anymore by that. Anyways, I personally have to give this episode a 6 in my opinion. Would be my rating for it. Anyways, let's get caught back up in chat. So where did I last leave off at? Okay. It looks like Thomas's comment is the first one since I last left off. So he says, Mei-chan effortlessly dodges attack after attack, yet forgets how to dodge the super clunky Gigaton hammer. Right. Gigaton used Gigaton hammer and smashes him. Yeah. Was useless. No, I wouldn't say Edoram was useless. It was playing its role. It's just got taken down at the end. Masquerade blocking Fury Wrath with her paws was something, yeah. Also, Charcadet will be battling more in the next episode, but let's be honest, it'll get knocked out. Well, yeah. Are you expecting it to really do something amazing against the hero Pokemon at this point? Little guy has barely been in the team for, not even 10 episodes. What are we expecting it to do? What's up, Pokefan? Animation quality has went down. Yeah. The series going on a 3-week break, I think, is for the best to the animators to improve the quality of the animation. I still don't think a 3-week break is enough. I wouldn't mind if the series ended. Some people were saying Arc 6 is going to be it for Horizons. And if that's the case, I wouldn't mind if the series ended and then we just took the series on hiatus. And I know that's kind of a... I know that's not a thing I should be saying, because I know that's going to definitely hurt my channel. Since most of you come for the anipoke content rather than my gaming content. So, I might be in trouble. But if it's to, bring the series and, come back in better shape, then so be it. Or whatever follows Horizons. So first thing I definitely want to say is I seriously don't think the episode hate is entirely deserved. It was no 10 out of 10 by any means. But to say it was hot garbage and the entire fandom has been is ridiculous. I have no idea where this is coming from. Maybe I just stopped paying attention. But I haven't seen anybody really talk about it. I guess I'll have to look into it. I think this episode was alright. I just think the animation and the battle quality was subpar. 6-7, yep. It's where I'm rating it. Matthew cut his hair and has dog form Zygarde. I'll give my thoughts. Let's hold off on that until towards the end of the stream. Or at least after we're done talking about this episode in particular. But I have some thoughts on that. Exactly, it wasn't bad but not good. So I don't know why people treat it like a dumpster fire. And it's worthy of having bleached eyes. Well, yeah. But hey, Pokefan, I would suggest maybe keeping that to the Discord rather than on the stream. So just an FYI. His dad will be in the next. Well, yeah. So I might try to snatch Terrapagos from Liko. Yep. What's up, Kevin? The finale of Arc 4 was better. Yeah. And you will say this while the animation wasn't anything crazy. People online definitely need to chill out and cut the animators slack, because Anipoke was hit hard driving, the pandemic. So they're working with what's available. Yep. You wonder why we don't have any more movies? Yep, that's why. They're saving the budget for the flashback arc. Not necessarily. Just back and forth using attacks. Lazy on the animator's part. Nation was the worst in Arc 5 out of all arcs. I wouldn't call it... Okay, Sharon, I wouldn't call the animators lazy. I think that, like, I don't think you should call the animators lazy for this. They're on a deadline to get this stuff done. And unfortunately, the way the industry works out, especially in Japan, sometimes you get subpar content just because they have deadlines for stuff, and that's why I'm saying a break is probably going to be needed in order to kind of just, resolve this stuff from happening. My least favorite arc so far is Rayquaza Rising. It's really. I think that's the best arc in Horizons, personally, despite its pacing issues. Like, after Horizons, have the anime be in hiatus for like 5 to 6 months. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if they're gonna do that, but like, I'm just gonna put it out there that One Piece, a series that has higher ratings than Pokemon in Japan, went off air for 6 months. Also, kind of helps with the pacing because that series kind of notorious for adapting like one manga chapter an episode. I know a few episodes that are really good, like the Tinkatuff Evolution or Tinkatinka Evolution episode is the best so far in the arc, but I know the Methio Resolve episode and the Coral Screamtail Catch are going to be great. I can't wait to see them on the 26th. Sorry if I seem negative or like supporting it. Like, definitely don't like the episode, but it wasn't that bad as people online are making it out. To be honest, sincerely, what it is. It's food. It's a food setup for next week. Well, yeah, obviously, like, this episode isn't the climax. If this were the climax, oh man, I would be pretty upset with the quality of the episode. But yeah, like, if people want new Pokemon anime content, they can do a web series or some short mini series. I just think a break could be nice. It would just help set the series back up, put it back on track, especially in the animation department, so things are not being rushed to release. And I will say this. Pokefan, have you heard of Pokemon Horizons? What? Not you. Oops. Oh. Yeah, I watch Horizons every week. Cheesy Hamber coincidentally runs into Dot and needs their help for hacking. 5 heroes are heavily nerfed, and how is the pandemic still affecting the animation? Well, it didn't really, I don't think they've ever taken a break since then. They took it went off air for a little bit back in 2020, but I always thought that it came back sooner than it needed to be honest with you. There were other series that were still like on break that didn't come back, longer than Pokemon did. I think it just came back too soon. And then they started running into the problems like it, towards the end of that series. Remember all the episodes where they were doing this episode we're going to be looking back on stuff. And they did that like how many times towards the end of that series? Kind of shows they kind of needed to like put something there to air the air time for the series while they try to animate the rest of that the Masters 8 tournament. But yeah, I will say that Hamber coincidentally being there and needing Dot, I will say that is very convenient. I kind of have to agree with that, Thomas. That is very oh, I need a hacker. The only way that I would know that he knew that is if he was like following Sango and Onyx or something like that. But yeah. Animation is tough, but I felt like they need a bigger staff to working on the anime. I mean, I don't know what to say. I've already said my piece on it. I don't think having a bigger staff is gonna like make a difference though. It might make a slight difference, but like I don't know. Good setup. Pokefan, I meant Pokemon Masters EX. Oh, yeah, play Masters. Gotcha. So I feel with a lot of Pokemon designs in Paldea. People say the designs are trash, but it seems truthful. Most of the designs are so unfinished. The writers and the staff are rushed. I don't really want to get into it because this is more of a discussion on the anime rather than the games and stuff, but you guys probably know how I feel about Scarlet and Violet. I stream those. I stream Scarlet and the DLC. Not a big fan of the games. Pretty clearly was affected by the 3-year cycle that Pokemon was on. That definitely am glad we're kind of out of now. And hopefully Gen 10 we've learned our lessons and we don't put out a game that's got glaring issues all over the place. But it's just like the problem is like it feels like a machine. Like I like Pokemon, but like it feels like everything has to be timed for release around like the games and stuff like that. Because like, you know, as long as like the games aren't out, you know, there's no new merch. There's like the TV series, you know, is kind of impacted by that as well. There's trading cards that are going to be created for the new mons and stuff like that. There's all kinds of stuff that hinges on the games. So it being in that 3-year cycle, I see from like a revenue and like a, you know, business point of view why it's in that cycle, but it was clearly like we were reaching a point where like we can't sit here and be in this 3-year cycle anymore when we're on, you know, modern consoles. It maybe worked when it was handheld and, you know, graphics were, you know, a lot more simple, but yeah, now that we're like in consoles, yeah, it kind of is unacceptable to put out a game like Scarlet and Violet with the glaring issues it had, amongst other things. A delay was definitely needed for that one. But yeah. People think the new Mega designs in ZR are not as good as the ones from X and Y. I'm still neutral on that. The series that shall not name had a lot of breaks, and those recap episodes were bad. Well, yeah, I don't think anybody likes those recap episodes, yeah. You can't say James Turner, artist, made beautiful Pokemon, but his style was very detail-oriented, and he needs time, and you can't rush him. Ken Sugimori designs are very simplistic. Yep. I actually have to agree with you. He says James Turner, excuse me. James Turner, he's actually really talented artist. I like his Kirby drawings. Since and Portuguese are 12 out of 10 designs in my book. These ain't no way I can already almost be out of stuff to talk about with this episode. Unfortunately, this one was pretty basic when it came to its plot. It's A plot and B plot. We'll talk about the next episode here in a minute. I'll just wait for the portion when we talk about next week. We'll get to that here once I get caught up in the chat. I mean to go on a rant or get off topic, but they're rushing the staff. I've been saying this for a long time. I'm gonna be real with you guys. This is something that I realized was gonna be a problem before Let's Go came out. I remember back in like 2017, and I remember thinking back then, I'm like, we're probably going to be going to like console, and when we do, I really hope that they, don't pump out these games one after another. And what happens for like several years? We got game after game after game, and you can just see where the quality started to just peter off, because once you're trying to do all this stuff at once, it just becomes too much. I'm glad that Gen 10 is getting an extra year. I just hope that extra year shows that it definitely, is worth, delaying things a year, and shows that this is the route we have to take going forward. Also, being on Switch 2 too is probably going to be a good thing since it is a more powerful console. Switch 1, as much as I like the Switch, has its limitations and has definitely aged since its release. So, and you can see that with a lot of games that are getting like their Switch 2 editions and seeing like the difference between Switch 1 and Switch 2. Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild are like look way better on Switch 2 compared to the original, for example. So, anyways, enough talking about that. I could go on for a while my grievances with the Pokemon games since we hit the Switch era, but I won't bore you guys with that. The games, anime, merch, TCG, yep. That's why I'm glad they're taking an extra year or two for the next gen. They're learning for their lesson. They're learning their lesson mainly through criticism, but like sales-wise, Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield did extremely well. In fact, I believe those are the second and third best-selling Pokemon games, which is kind of sad in my opinion, because I'm not a fan of either of those games personally, but they did sell well, so the fact that we're taking an extra year off for the next series gives me hope that maybe, things will be better going forward. ZA, I will say, quality-wise, looks like a huge leap compared to, what we got in other games. Like, from Scarlet Violet to this is a huge leap. It's pretty noticeable. People having issues with ZA having a DLC being announced when the game is not even out in the paywall stuff. I have issues with that. I don't think the DLC being announced when the game is not even out I don't see that as an issue personally, because other games have done it. I do have a slight issue with the Mega Raichus being kind of behind that. As soon as they said paid DLC in that direct, I was like, why'd you do that, guys? Why'd you do that? Could have been, something distributed later on through like mystery gift or something, but whatever. By the way, I highly doubt this, but I wonder if Cap will evolve later and then Mega Evolve either temporarily under Roy's command or full-time under Freed once he returns. As much as that would be cool, Pokefan, Captain or Pikachu's the mascot. They're not going to allow him to evolve. It would be cool, though. I have no idea if we'll get Mega Raichu. Hold on, give me a second. Water time. I have a gut feeling Freed will not rejoin the crew if he makes an appearance. I think he will be shown in the background and hiding or captive by Spinel, is my gut feeling if he shows up. Next episode looks really good. I'm not sure Freed's gonna make an appearance in this episode anymore. But that preview doesn't strike me as Freed returning, you know what I mean? Gotta rake that dough somehow, and Pikachu is it. Yeah. Technically, I don't think they really need to anymore, considering I think, it made sense back in, late 90s, early 2000s, when, social media was, not a thing. So it made sense that, the anime was the promotional material for the games, but I don't think honestly don't really need the anime, which is why I'm glad. I think they recognize that, which is why Horizons is kind of its own thing, while doing some slight promotions to the anime. Or to the game, excuse me. Like Mega Dragonite, for example. But yeah. Hopefully next episode the animation quality is better. I hope so too. I hope maybe the reason why this episode looked the way it did is because the next episode is going to be better. We'll see. That's to be seen. We got 5 days before the episode airs, and we'll see what happens. Also, people think Spinel might get a Malamar and Mega Evolve it as part of his plan, and I'm for it, because anyone would have to get in Mega, it would be him. That would be kind of neat. I'm still holding my breath on that. I've seen some people talking about that. That's like his ace in the hole or something like that, but I don't know at the moment. It would be cool, though. I ain't denying that. I have no idea what the finale is going to look like. Neither do I. I do have a few clues. Spinel should get a Mega Malamar, yep. Anyways, we can talk about the next episode now. Based on the preview, a few things. I can only surmise a few things. We're still battling the hero Pokemon, obviously. Crave is out. He's kind of, entered the battlefield. Probably Dot, Hamburg are going to catch up and try to help out as well. The main thing is that Amethio shows up. Got a haircut. But the most notable thing is that he has the dog form Zygarde. And, wow, that was fast. That was fast. He hasn't even been, out and about for very long. And just a couple episodes ago, he was hanging out with Mighty G. You're telling me in that short amount of time, he managed to gather some Zygarde cells? Enough to at least have the dog form? Hopefully there's maybe some type of, flashback showing him finding it or something. Because I was going to say, Zerconia, they were kind of useless not finding, anything. But then Amethio shows up and decides to go out, and yep, he's already got it. That was fast. So that's one thing in the episode that's already, okay. Kind of goes to show you how fast everything is happening in this arc. Excuse me. The other thing that I thought was notable in the episode preview was Alt looked very disappointed. He looks kind of depressed. So that makes me wonder, are Liko, Roy, and Alt and Dot, whoever, are they gonna have to be rescued or something and just taken away? Because they're basically losing this battle. There's no way they're gonna win. They're about ready to be taken out, and Methio comes in and saves them or something like that. Not really sure, but based on the way he's looking, he's either disappointed with himself, disappointed that he had to be rescued, or a combination of a couple things. But I get the feeling he probably had a total loss here, so he's just feeling down about the whole thing. But obviously our heroes are okay in the end. But maybe this is I'm wondering, because the end of Rayquaza Rising, we essentially lost. The Rising Volt Tacklers essentially lost, despite winning the whole time. And then Spinel brings his master plan, and we lose big time. Are we going to lose again this arc, and then in the next arc finally get one up on Spinel again? Not sure. So kind of hard to say what exactly is happening, in the episode, but just know, Liko, Roy, and Alt, they're in a very sticky situation. Not doing too hot at the moment, as of the end of this episode. Alt's looking pretty disappointed, so me thinks that, if anything, Alt probably had all his Pokemon were probably fainted, and he probably needed to be saved or something, and he's just looking down on himself. Is what I'm thinking. But I'm dude, you don't even have to feel so bad about it. You're going up against some legendary Pokemon. What's your Sableye gonna do? Be real now. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this arc ends. I'm hoping that it makes up a bit for this episode, especially in the animation department. So we'll see how Mega Voltage ends. I really hope it ends on a good note, because I don't know. I think going into year 2 or part 2 of Horizons, it's a step down from our previous 2 arcs, personally. But that's just me. Anyways, getting caught back up on chat. What do you think will happen to the 5 heroes in the next episode? I get the feeling we're not going to save them. But who knows? Maybe Zygarde does something. Or Methio and Zygarde does something. It would feel kind of forced if, like, they somehow, like, overcome them at this point and get all 5 heroes. It has to be written in a way that makes a good amount of sense. And it doesn't feel forced, if that makes sense. I'm very happy Methio finally has his 3rd Mon. He deserves Zygarde. I agree. It just happened a little bit sooner than I was expecting. Methio should use 50% Shiny Zygarde if he's able to. I don't know if he has enough cells gathered at this point. We just don't know. Methio quickly flew around on the Corviknight gathering cells. I would guess so. By the way, notice how Methio has a very similar outfit to Spinel's. It's a clear symbolic representation that he's the true heir of the throne of Exceed. I wouldn't be surprised if he's taking over the company at the end of the series. Probably happening. As Spinel's in jail. See, nobody mentioned this anywhere. That's kind of neat, though. That's a good catch, Pokefan. Imagine if we get Mega Zygarde. We'll see. I think Dragonite might get taken down by Galarian Moltres. Maybe. I also do think Spinel could have a Mega Malamar, but I think it's much higher chance Agate has Malamar because Spinel has BM. Maybe. Well, she needs to like step it up after losing a dot in the episode. You know what? I forgot to mention this. There is something I did catch, and I forgot to mention this. In the episode, Hamber's actually questioning Agate and talking about, like, what about you? What is your goal? And it sounds like she has her own goal in all of this. So that makes me wonder what her true goal is actually. Agate is a character that I think has been very underutilized in Horizons. So the fact that she has an underlying goal in all of this makes her a little bit more interesting. So I'm wondering what she truly wants out of all of this. Guess we'll find out. I just don't see them winning. And at this point, not really. If Terrapagos is out and down and out, like, what can they do? And it also seems like they still got plenty of Recuriums, So they're just, like, they could keep removing it. Terrapagos could keep removing it, and they'll just keep reapplying it. They either have to... The only way they're going to win this is if they somehow take out the Exceed employees that are using the super strong spheres. The only way I can see that happening is if Zygarde actually swipes in and just, like, attacks them and destroys the super strong spears. If it does that, that could calm down the hero Pokemon. Won't needs more than 2 Pokemon. We'll see if he catches another one at this point in the series. We still have no idea if her 3rd Pokemon has shown yet for a reason. Might be something going on there. Maybe similar to Alt's case. Who knows? I think Alt is depressed because Dragonite still doesn't obey him. You think so? I think Sigilyph would fit Agate. Maybe. I've been talking about Agate's 3rd Pokemon for months now, and people think I'm crazy. It's just a display Pokeball. And it's just a display Pokeball. Really? Well, you ain't gonna be so crazy if she finally whips it out. Agate and Spinel's team seems to resemble each other. So much electric Pokemon for her 3rd Pokemon. Yeah. I love Sigilyph. That could work for her. Xatu has never battled. Yeah, it just teleports. Yes, my favorite Pokemon, Horizons. Ott. My favorite character in Horizon's Ott. Yep. You didn't know her? Well, you know her now. She's Dot's hidden sister. Sigma would be a great addition to Agate's team, Bulbapeda said recently. She hinted she was a teacher in the past recently. Ooh. You know, that could... There could be some potential there. Maybe she knew Liko's mother, who's also a teacher. Remember that? Would be neat. Will Rayquaza come and help? Maybe they could be hiding that, but like there's a lot going on already, so I wonder. Also, Rayquaza's still kind of just chilling in the Dragon's Den. He'd have to literally fly all the way from Johto to Paldea in a short amount of time. I mean, the dude can go from region to region pretty quickly, so... But, I don't know. Think it could sense everything going on from, you know, that far away? And it comes in to kind of save the day. I don't know. I kind of almost don't want it to show up just because I want the characters to, you know, try to get out of the situation without it. Because I feel like Rayquaza would be a cheat code because of how strong it is compared to even the other heroes. So, that would be just my thought. I don't know if I would like it showing up here. I know she was in Terrestrial Debut, but maybe before that also. She hasn't really been relevant in a long time, to be honest. I actually kind of forgot about Liko's mom. When I think of Liko's family, I really only think of her grandma nowadays. Because her parents aren't really that plot relevant, let's be real. Rayquaza would just be watching Netflix and eating snacks. All y'all on your own, kids. Yeah. Yeah, he's like, I'm done with this. You know, I've literally been doing all kinds of stuff for y'all. I've just been wanting to do my own thing, so yeah, I'm good. Roy should Terrasilize Pikachu into Flying type Terror. Do you think he can do that, though? But yeah, anyways, just to kind of cut in here and say, if you haven't already hit that like button, let's get the 10 likes. We just need 2 more likes. Can we do it? And to also hit that, also vote in the poll. 8-7 is winning by an overwhelming amount. 78%. 10-9 is in second place. Distant second, really, 22%. And nobody voted for 6-5 or lower than 5. Spinel, second in command to main villain. Song going on. Lovable side villains who have such fun personality. Agate is just there, standing in the corner, smiling, waving, waiting to be relevant, covered in dust. Yep. Well, maybe she'll get her time of spotlight. I just like that moment that Hamber points out that he's disappointed in her, and it's like, don't you have your, like, can you think for yourself? Like, are you alright with all this that's going on? Are you okay that this is all going on? Like, what do you want? So, I'm very curious to see what her true goal is. What if all along she's actually trying to stop Spinel? That would be quite the twist, but who knows? I just expect him to kind of just, like, when the time comes, to basically abandon everybody. So then it's everybody versus Spino. Don't be surprised if we go in that direction. It's not for display. I saw their Pokemon and the Creepy Gen 2 got displayed. So Crocolar will faint and Roy will Mega Evolve Lucario in the next episode. Also, Crocolar won't be able to ride Kilowattrel if it evolves. Yep. That is true. I really, really, really want to like Agate as a character, even though she's seen as boring. There's something so mysterious about her. What did she say about that to Hamber? She essentially said that she has her own motives. She has her own goal. And she's not, like, she essentially just implies that she's not just like a robot just following commands. But she does have her own goal. It's just that we don't know what that is. I think we'll know soon enough. It just makes, because, like, see, Agate is a character in the series that I think has been lacking this entire time. It's clearly her and Spinel now are kind of running the show at Exceed. But, like, even then, she's not as interesting or compelling as, like, Spinel is. Or even some of the other characters in the series. So her basically coming out and saying this in this episode actually makes her a little bit more interesting. Because then it makes you wonder as the viewer, hey, you know, what is her actual, like, intentions? What is her true intentions in all of this? Maybe there's something more. There's maybe something she wants out of all of this. Not necessarily like world domination or anything, but there's something that could be different than all that she wants out of this. So that's what makes it a little bit intriguing to me as a viewer. You know, especially as someone that, again, has seen her as, like, not being as, like, memorable as any of the other villains in the series. Like PokeFan just pointed out earlier, you got Spinel, who's basically, you know, went from minion to, like, you know, main villain. Sango and Onyx are the comedic duo. One's like super hyperactive, gremlin mode half the time, and the other one's like super calm and like just tolerates her BS, and they just work together like so well. It's kind of funny because, like, I don't think Onyx works as well on his own, but, like, when he's with Sango, it's like they just work together so well as a duo. They complement one another, if that makes sense. And then, you know, Methio, obviously, you know, he is, you know, heir to, you know, Exceed, to, you know, his grandfather. It's pretty clear that they're pushing him to basically take over the company at the end of the series. But Agate, on the other hand, she's just there basically as almost like feels like just an assistant to Spinel. So up to this point, it's been like, okay, she's there, she does stuff, but she doesn't really have much of a personality. It doesn't really have much going on for her character. So for her to put this out there, for him to question, or Hamber to question that about her, gives her it makes her a little bit more intriguing. So again, as a viewer, I'm sitting here like, wow, you know, what is her true motives in all this? So sorry if I went into a long-winded thing there, but I just wanted to point out that now with this, you know, this being pointed out in the episode, this will be a good thing for her character moving forward. It will make her more interesting in the future. I don't think she's stupid like everyone thinks. She's not naive to Spinel. She has her motives. Exactly. So we'll see what she really wants out of all this. Hopefully soon enough. Sooner than later. Agate is trying to earn Joe's trust to get his social security numbers and then run off with his personal information, money, and his luxury apartment. Oof. Her true goal has been exposed. Agate should have a Mega Evolved Medicham while Requiem. That's a lot of power. Earn his trust. Songo is the crazy goofy one. Yep. By the way, very random, but what's y'all's thoughts on Pokemon being caught in non-standard Pokeballs? Because my opinion is awesome, since we almost never see it. Yeah, that's cool. Let's have more of that, and not just the regular Pokeballs. I mean, you have all these Pokeballs that are in the games, and you don't do anything with them in the actual show. Kind of a shame. Methio has depth. Well, Agate really does not. For now, at least. She's been collaborating with Spinel and working with him for a reason. She definitely has her motives, and I sensed that from the beginning. Amber isn't wrong. She's been like a robot to Spinel. I mean, that's why he was calling her out. He's like, that's why he's like, what's your opinion on all this? Like he just, well, when he was talking to her, he came off like he was just like he was just a disappointed dad or something. If that makes sense. It's like, what are you doing? Been saying for a while, Agate definitely has a mind of her own and wants to do something, just not sure what. Spinel has been trying to run while Gibeon was in control. You know, it's kind of funny going back on it. There were hints, like, from the very beginning of when Spinel was, like, showing up in the series. I remember a lot of us were speculating back in that first year of Horizons. We're like, you know, it seems like this dude, Spinel, has something on his mind. And then when he was plotting against Amethio, when they basically went after Rayquaza at the end of Arc 2, you know, and he got his Terra Orb, they were talking behind his back. There was, like, you could tell that, like, behind the scenes, there was definitely some mutiny going on within the Explorers. So it was very satisfying when, you know, Spinel essentially, you know, took things into his own means when Gibeon passed on. So now we'll have to see what Agate truly wants out of all this. Does she want a piece of the world, and then Spinel can have the rest of it? Who knows? Or if there's something else, who knows? Spinel has been trying to run while Gibeon was in... Oh yeah, I've already read that, sorry. And Sun and Moon Gladion had all different Pokeballs than he used, and I only used a Dieball and Eevee. Very random for Eevee, though. But yeah, I'm just saying in general, like, regular Pokeballs are kind of, like, overly used in the series. You do have your occasional, like, Pokemon in, like, different types of Pokeballs. I'd like Ultra Balls for some of these mons. Heck, how do you even tell apart who's being sent out of which ball is which if everything is just a regular Pokeball, right? I feel like you just have to, like, mark it with a marker or something like that. Coral, you know, Songo and Onyx seem to trust a lot, or Agate a lot for some reason, when they didn't agree with Spinel. It's like they don't trust Spinel, but they like to work for you, Agate, or work for Agate. You know, that is a good point. Back in episode 89, when Spinel was kind of taking things in his own hand, I remember Songo and Onyx specifically called him out. They're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what is the meaning of this? I feel like there are cracks going on, because, like, and then during the 1 year, they both became very popular. Obviously, as we saw in the previous episode, you know, they can't really go out in public normally anymore because they're essentially celebrities now. And it's kind of surprising because Songo is someone that likes all the attention, and even she's kind of, like, starting to not enjoy it. So you can kind of see some cracks that have been forming for a while. Especially with those two. They're kind of just going along with it because obviously, you know, they're benefiting from all of this, but they're kind of being forced to do PR and stuff like that, so obviously they're not, like, they're not really big fans of it. I feel like eventually that's going to cause them to split down the road. So Who knows? But yeah, I don't see them having any like differences with Agate. They usually kind of go on her word. Didn't they actually go on her word when they were trying to trap Amethio and Liko in that cave back when? Or they're distracting Roy and Dot from finding Liko. And I think they were following Agate's commands rather than Spinel's. I guess because the regular Pokeball is the most iconic one. I get it, but yeah. You got other balls there. Do stuff with it. Well, guys, I'm going to do some stuff I need to take care of now. It's been like fun like always, and have a great day or night wherever you are. Well, thank you very much, Pokefan. Good to see you here. It was a pleasure like always. Hope to see you in the next one. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Question. What will happen Sango and Onyx or Sidon Coral? See Amethio. They seem to be friends with him. I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting. They're observing everything that's going on. They're not directly interacting with what's happening, so it'll be interesting to see their reactions to Amethio showing up. I wonder what it will be like. When will we get news on Arc 6? We could get it this week sometime, or after this week's episode airs. If they don't show any news, that's because they're kind of waiting until we get closer to the Kalos flashback episodes, and we'll learn about it during that time. But I wouldn't be surprised if they show something here, but the series is taking a little bit of it's sidestepping for a little bit to do the Kalos flashback episodes, which, by the way, are not side episodes. They're confirmed to be regular episodes in the series, so they are not side stories at all. So just putting it out there. They don't hate him. I can see them switching sides. They're following her commands. Yeah. That's why I feel like there's cracks that are forming. They've been forming for a little while, but you can tell that they're like starting to kind of see the problems with their current lifestyle and not enjoying it anymore. One last thing I want to say is it's very clear that Spinel is having them for PR because he doesn't trust them enough and like them as much as Agate and the new grunts. So it makes sure they don't screw up or screw around is what I think you meant. Actually, that is a good thing. Because they definitely weren't doing so hot, and they were kind of failing some of their missions before, so maybe that's why. Will we see Sango and Onyx? Coral and Sango? Or Sango and Onyx in the next episode? I'm gonna assume yes. They're kind of still there. But I figured they got played when Amethio got kicked out. They were like, what WTF was this mission for? Right. They might be like questioning certain things, like why are we doing this? Why are we being sent to do this? Hi, how do you feel about this episode? I already went over it earlier, Tyrese. By the way, hello, how's it going? But to be brief, I think this episode, I like certain things about this episode. I do like the fact that Dot finally beat Agate. They're definitely in a tense situation, which is cool. Kilowattrel getting an Electro Ball attack on Galarian Moltres was actually really cool. All hail Kilowattrel. But a lot of convenient stuff was happening in the episode, like Dot running into Hamber. The animation was very subpar in this episode, unfortunately, and very sluggish. So, like, even though Dot won against Agate is cool, it came off very, not necessarily not earned, but it just didn't feel as good as it should, I guess. So hopefully, this week's episode has actually got better animation. Did you already discuss the episode? Yes. earlier in the stream, and I guess just now, briefly. I will say again, to be also very brief if you missed it, I did mention earlier that, Hamber called out Agate and basically saying, like, oh, he kind of acted like he was a disappointed dad, and basically was like, what about you? What are your thoughts on all this? Like, why are you doing all this? Why are you going through these lengths to do this? And she kind of reveals that she has her own, goals and motivations and all this. So something to look out for. So Agate became a lot more interesting thanks to this episode. So yeah, we'll see if that goes anywhere. Spin will trust Agate to get the job done more than Dango and Onyx. Probably. Also, they're working more closely than anyone else. So yeah, I think Amethio and Crave will be healing their relationship next week. It's gonna be interesting to see their interaction in the next episode. I'll give it that. Okay, well, we've been going on for a little over an hour, so yeah. For the people just joining, if you could hit that like button, I'd appreciate it. We need just one more like to 10 likes. Can we do it before the stream ends today? And also vote in the poll if you haven't already to give me your thoughts on the episode. 7-8 is still in the lead, and we have currently 11 votes. No Crave battle. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it could battle, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. He doesn't strike me as a battler, though. But then again, we haven't really seen anything from him in regards to that, so we'll see. My other question, do the explorers have control of the 6 heroes while they're using the super strong spheres, or are they running Pharaoh? That is a good question. Then again, they are calling it an experiment for a reason. They're probably doing it to see how they react on the super strong spheres. But it is true, like, Pokemon go feral completely when they're under Requiem. We saw that happen back in Rikua. As soon as the 5 of the 6 hero Pokemon got affected by the Requiem, they basically went crazy and started attacking one another. So I don't know how they'd contain them at that point. Unless they, like, can knock them out or something. But yeah. How would you rate this episode? I would rate it 9 out of 10 despite the battle with Agate and Dot taking up time. Personally, for me, it's a 6. Just because I feel like the animation in this episode weighs the episode down heavily. And I do think Dot run into Hamber and he conveniently needs her to save Crave. Kinda is a little bit on the convenient side. So I would kind of feel like that part of the episode was kind of also a little bit on the force end. Like, what are the odds of, like, Dot having to go find her Pokemon? It evolves, and then she has to go and try and warn Liko and the others, and then happens to run into Hamber. A little bit, unrealistic in that sense, but hey, it is a show, so yeah. Like, will they accept the commands from the explorers while they're using the strong spheres? Probably not. They gotta have a way of calming them down and getting them to, chill or something. I don't know. Hard to say. Again, it is an experiment, so they're kind of just observing what's going to happen. Or maybe maybe Spinel just doesn't care. I don't know. He just wants chaos. Who knows? Guess we'll find out. Gouging Fire looking down at Alt showed that, seeing how small and weak he was to Gouging Fire. Also, Charcadet using Ember on it, Lapras making it stop. Not gonna really do much, but yeah. Then again, it's ice water, so yeah. I also wonder if they will show signs of the effects of the strong spheres with Coral, Songo, and Glalie friendship. Maybe it'll give her a wake-up call. Could be, maybe later down the road. I didn't notice much of animation flaws. Might want to rewatch the episode because it was very slow and choppy at moments. Especially the battle between Dot and Agate. It just wasn't very engaging, in my opinion. I'm really hoping that happens. They have to have an antidote to get them back to their cages. Probably there's gotta be something. Just don't know what that is currently. Maybe we'll find out in this week's episode. I don't know. Okay, guys, again, we are over an hour into the stream. Is there anything you guys have for me today before we head on out of here? I am really hoping that happens. She needs a wake-up call about the strong spheres and learn she's hurting Glalie. She didn't seem to be kind of very friendly with Glalie earlier in the series, but maybe they've grown closer and since, you know, that time. We'll see. I mean, Meowscarada using the Force to hold back Galarian Moltres is awkward. Using the Force. Huh. So she's, you know, a Jedi, apparently. Am I right? But, yeah, anyways, anything else for me, guys? Because I think we're going to probably wrap things up here shortly. Nice stream. Gotcha. Dragonite needs a full moveset. Well, it's still pretty relatively new, Sharon, so we'll probably learn its new full set soon enough. Anyways, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up now. So it looks like we did hit 10 likes. Thank you very much, y'all. I definitely appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. We got 12 votes, 67%. So 2/3 of people, or 8 votes, were for 8-7. And then 33%, 1/3, or 4 votes were for 10-9. Nobody voted 6-5 or lower than 5. Still seems like you guys still like the episode. Still. Despite its flaws. So, yeah. I'm still kind of giving this a 6, so maybe I'll settle for like a 6.5, if that's okay with y'all. Charcadet got a full moveset quickly because they want to evolve it as fast as possible. Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, I'm debating whether I should get back into streaming, because apparently I haven't finished Bonanza, really, but I took a little bit of a hiatus. And during that hiatus, I decided to announce DLC, so We'll see. I'm kind of a little bit upset that it is paid, but yeah, we'll see. I'll think about streaming that part. But yeah, we'll probably be getting back into regular streaming this week. And yeah. Oh, Kevin. Before... I really hope Hadoram gets her evolution episode soon, Mitchell. She deserved it sooner. I feel like she's getting pushed aside for Charcadet. I think might even evolve before Hadoram. They're rushing Charcadet way too fast. I'm going to have to disagree. I don't think they're rushing Charcadet. I think they're doing a fine job developing it. I just wish that Hadoram didn't disappear into the background. Because it feels like Hadoram has just unfortunately been ignored for a while, honestly. So hopefully, maybe it gets its time in the spotlight here in the next few months, but we'll see. That's to be seen. Alright, take care, Kevin. Thanks for joining. It's a pleasure, like always. But another thing to mention here before we go is the Horizon stream. I can't obviously do it again this Saturday because I am out of town this weekend, and I won't be back until sometime in the afternoon on Sunday, so I won't be able to watch this episode in with subtitles until Sunday afternoon. So there will not be a stream until 8 p.m. next Sunday night, so just an FYI, and that will be the last episode for a little bit, so we'll have another break for a couple weeks. Nothing else to say. See you next Sunday. Alright, see you, Sharon. And with that said, we're done for today's stream, so if you are still here, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a good day or night wherever you're at, and I will see you all later. Bye.